Kevin Spacey play Lex now creeps me out. And see, like Lois and Clark. What's his name? I don't remember his name.
I'm
The dude.
surprised you included a bare-ass child Superman in the intro.
Why? It's from the movie. It was
Oh, that makes it
cute.
okay.
Yeah, it totally makes it okay. But Dean Cain's his movie. His name. Like, seeing like the politically inept Dean Cain makes me look at it a different way. Like, I gotta separate art from artists sometimes. But we are going.
I completely forgot Dean Cain existed until today.
Right? He was famous in the 90s for like 18 months, right? 18 months or so? Yeah. No, I have no issue with Dean Cain. I'm just fucking around. But we're going to talk about Man of Steel. Joseph has this hard on for Man of Steel that I just don't understand.
I
And
didn't say that. I just said the movie was good.
now
That's
what? Sure. Okay, now for the record, are you saying it's good in the way that you hate a terrible movie? Good? Or it's good in the way that there's not massive plot holes and stupid dialogue?
I'm saying it was good enough for what it meant, for whatever it meant to offer. I won't dare tell you that the movie was perfectly acted.
Well,
Like I was not the only one in the theater laughing at Zod saying, "Oh, we'll find him." And his voice, he sounds like Miss Piggy when he's yelling.
now the thing with this is there are terrible your audio got weird for a second. The weird thing to me is like there are movies that I love just because they're nostalgic or like Superman and Robin. I love that movie. It's fucking awful. It's awful. But you saying this is a good movie is what's mind-boggling to me. Like where was Superman? First off, let's just start off with that question. Where was Superman in this movie?
I think in order to answer, I need to know what your impression of Superman is. As far as I know, he was in the entire movie.
Okay. Superman is a person that is literally about truth, justice, and the American way. Not murder, not being a psychopath, not killing, the whole what was it? Their birthing thing, and he kills like a bunch of little teeny, I guess, babies in there. Like Superman's not all about genocide or letting his father die. That's what is so erroneous about this is that a lot of the reason why they have Jonathan Kent die the way he does as far as a heart attack is that lesson for Superman to learn that he can't save everyone. He could have literally saved Jonathan and now it's his fault. His father's dead.
Well, let me start. Well, first off, let's talk about the genocide you said because let me just bring your attention back to that because it sounds like that was a pro-choice Superman. I thought you would be more supportive.
That's very true. That is a good point. But I'm just saying, like, it's fucking weird, right?
Well, I made sense of it in the way that because obviously if there are other Kryptons out there and they have problems like Zod, they're going to come back for that. So I thought that was a good incentive. I thought that was a good reason to smash that. Get rid of it. Because it served no purpose.
But
What's
he
he gonna do with it anyway?
But he literally, besides him procreating with humans, there's no chance of any Kryptonian ever coming back. And
I'm just saying it would have worked.
Regardless of whether I am pro-choice or not, I would think, is it just me or is Joseph Mike's really bad? Fix your fucking mic!
I don't know what's wrong with it. I swear nothing's wrong with it. Is it the same problem now? What about now?
You did nothing and then said, what about now?
Because I'm on my phone. I don't know if the microphone's on top or
bottom. Generally it's on the bottom, I think.
If it's on the bottom next to the speaker, well, I don't know. I'm talking to the whole phone. I don't know what else to do, guys. I'm sorry. But is it the reverb? Because occasionally I'm in this really tall room.
It's what it is it when you talk, it sounds like there's some sort of interference in the background.
I don't know. I don't know what to do. There's nothing. It's just a phone in my hand. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, you're good. I can handle it because I don't know why. I just can't. Okay, so where was back to the original question? Where was Superman in this entire movie?
Well, like I said, I thought I saw him the entire movie. I want to talk about your criticism from earlier this week because you said you didn't see Superman save an entire. Did you save anyone the entire movie? The movie opens with him saving people.
Exactly. So why didn't he save his father? He didn't care to hide his face then.
And, and I do agree that that exact scene sucked. I wasn't the only one who thought so. I thought that was a lame expression of what was. I thought that was a lame expression. I really did. But
Joseph, do me
yes,
a favor. Go out and go back and come back in. Simply because sometimes that helps with the audio, and you're getting a little robotic.
okay, hold on. Well, let me
Wait,
do
you
some
wait,
of
wait,
the.
wait, wait. You
I'm here.
sound good there.
Really?
Yeah, you sound fine like that.
Oh, so it's this room.
Yes, you
Okay, then
sound
that's
fine
the
now.
problem. Wait, hold on. I'll use the data to enhance my Wi-Fi signal and see if that helps at all. Okay. What were we saying? We were talking about.
Much better.
Yeah. Okay, we were talking about Big Papa Kent, the way he died, and I agree that sucked. I think that was a crappy writing. Yeah, if I would have saved my dad for sure, but
Clark would have saved it.
just
Superman would
something
have
to
saved
think
his
about.
dad.
Well, just something to think about. The MPAA, or for those of you outside the U.S., if you don't know what that is, it's the American rating system for movies. It sucks. It's for total pussies. And I'll just for reference, one of Zack Snyder's other movies, which it surprises me, you guys hate Zack Snyder for Man of Steel. You never saw Sucker Punch. That'll
No,
make
I
you hate his
didn't.
mother.
That is it. I have heard of it, and I've heard to stay away from it.
As much as I've grown to like Zack's work, or his work when he's taking others' work, his original work, I have never forgiven him for a single thing. So, but there is basically, if you don't know anything about Sucker Punch, long story short, these chicks are stripping, and they or the main character, she escapes into daydreams while she's stripping, and that's where the violence comes in. That's basically the movie. I shit you not. And there is a scene where it was implicit that she was taken advantage of. And somebody said after the fact, after the movie came out, the MPAA was going to give that movie an R rating for the original scene, in which it was voluntary. So they said because it was involuntary, it would have gotten a PG-13 rating. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, but that's how they work. So with that
Wow.
in mind, you're seeing it's quite possible that the writing crew, they came up with something else, and the
Wait,
MPA said no, that's too much. I
wait, a
don't know.
heart. You're really trying to say that a heart attack would get them an R rating? Come on now.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't think that would have. I honestly think that would have been a lot better. I really
Yeah, well
do.
then
I
give
really
him
do.
an
That would have
R
been a
rating
huge step.
because that's such a crucial point for Clark to learn that he can punch buildings, he can save people that are falling, but he can't fix everything. And he learns that through the death of his father. That's like an
Right.
integral part. And to have him, not only that, but John was just a bad father in general. Like, absolutely terrible father. Should you have what should I have done? Let him drown? Maybe.
Maybe, and I understand that, and we have to understand though that sets up the next movie. Let's not escape into that yet, but that is an underlying theme in the next movie, that people are afraid of what they don't understand. So as far as how John Kent was used to set up what would happen in the next movie, I don't know that they did the best they could do. I just know that it worked. I just know that Clark struggled to grasp right and wrong. Or rather, no, actually, I shouldn't even say that. He
Right, so it's
struggled
not
to wonder.
Superman. That's not
Well,
Superman.
and let me make something clear about Superman to the audience right now, because my grudge is not so much this is not an attack on Superman. Actually, it is. I'm not here to talk about Superman classic. I don't look down on anybody that looks on Superman classic as a symbol of some sort. That's not what this is. My position is about Superman applied, about Superman hypothetically, like if that
Okay.
guy were real. Okay, so that's where my comments come from. As far as that scene in the movie, so and I remember that. So Clark was in the basement. Papa Kent brings him the piece from the ship and that's how he's breaking down to Clark that you're not
Right.
even from Earth.
Wait, hold
Right.
on. That
Go
he
ahead.
took to somebody at a college campus and had them look at and said, it's
Mhm.
not from this world. But don't save me, even though I've taken your tech to other people who all kept their mouth shut.
Right. He just said it's not on the periodic table. Hold on. He didn't link it to Clark though. I know. As the
Regardless,
guy that. Go
you think
ahead.
he didn't tell anybody about it? Like, there's nothing on the periodic table. We should probably look into this. Just kidding. We're going to give it right back. That's not how the government works.
Didn't he just say it was a friend? I thought you said it was a local, like a local college
It
or
was at a
something.
university, yeah.
University. Okay. I don't know. Well, it's not like the universities just let the locals walk in and ask questions all the time anyway. So that would have had to be a close friend or something like that.
There is a brand new discovery of an element on the periodic table. Your friend brings it to you, and you don't want to do some sort of experimentation on it.
Mhm.
Find a new element. Come on. Like,
I-
they're going to have to be like bromance levels of friendship there.
Okay. So Big Papa Ken is having an affair with a man. They just didn't want to put it on screen. How's that?
That's fair. That's fair. It's now canon.
Well, okay, we'll leave it at that. But as far as Clark grasping, let me also tell you what I saw in that. I saw Clark being told not to do the right thing as much as he really wanted to do it. And he was misled by his father. And that's such as life. Sometimes mom and dad are painfully wrong to tell you things. And now he's living with that mistake. He's taking that with him all throughout his life. And now that's something that drives him in life. Now he has to decide, does he want to do the right thing from here? Does he care what other people say? Obviously, for a while, yeah, he still battled with that. Until finally, one day, he said, he found a way to be both. He found a way to be the guy that does the right thing, and he found a way to live amongst everybody else. So I don't think there was anything wrong with that. I thought
So
that
it's
was a
not
great
John
way to
Kent.
explain what drives him. I know it's not John. It's not John. It's not what you wanted from John. Again,
No,
I'm not
it's what
right.
no Superman wanted from John. Because that makes Clark literally say later on to the preacher that he doesn't even know if he trusts humanity.
Mhm.
That's not Clark Kent. That's not Superman.
Well, let me also bring up something that was going on at the time before this movie even came out. There was a good reason Batman became the dominant figure in DC heroes. Actually, superheroes generally in America. Worldwide, it's still Superman. Like even when I was in Tokyo, you could see all the different DC Marvel heroes, but there was a lot of Superman, a lot more Superman than anyone else.
Oh,
But here
wow.
in the U.S., it was Batman, and it was for good reason because Superman was too perfect. He wasn't relatable. Like I said, the symbol obviously people appreciate the symbolic meaning of Superman. I don't think a lot of people really dismiss Superman in metaphor, but they're talking about in hypothetically, if that guy were real, he's really not much of anything. And the perfection just didn't create a relatable universe. Batman, even as bizarre as some of those guys are, Batman actually did.
Right.
Batman did.
The thing is I know I say this often, but Superman's not necessarily supposed to be relatable. He's supposed to be inspirational. And
Mhm,
there are assets of his life that are relatable, right? A
mhm,
working class man, trying to provide those kind of things you can relate to. But
right.
absolute power generally corrupts absolutely. With
Mhm,
him, it's the exact opposite. He has in the palm of his hand literally the ability to take over the world, and it completely admonishes him of
Mhm.
being evil because he was raised correctly. And that's why John is such a big deal in this movie, that it's not his father, because those foundational steps you need to create the correct Clark Kent, to create the correct Superman. That's why it's such a big deal. And that's why it sets up just maybe Ultraman, maybe Omni Man, but not Superman.
Ultraman. Let me explain finally why I've been calling Superman a punk ever since I got on this channel. The
Fair enough.
reason is he only knows strength. Like I said, Superman in symbol, his Superman in metaphor, I get that. You have it in you to get it right every single time, and would you do it? And obviously, a lot of people say yes, but I'll just give you something to think about. I've met a few people that get Superman tattoos that have long rap sheets. They don't see Superman as a symbol of right and wrong. They just see him as the guy that wins the fight, no matter what. That's just something to think about. We don't have to explore that a lot. But
It's the
even the
same with the
metaphors,
Punisher shit, right?
basically. But even I think Punisher is a little bit more. Yeah, a Punisher is a little bit harder to, easier to miss though.
Right.
But still, metaphors are open to interpretation. Superman is not exempt. The reason I say he's a punk is because all he knows is strength. That's it. He's not so much inspired to do the right thing. He's inspired to do the right thing, I guess, as long as he feels strong enough to do it. That's not what
Wait,
doing the right thing is for. You're
that's
supposed to do it
that's
for the
not what.
cause.
Have you ever read All Star Superman out of curiosity?
I don't know, because here's the thing: is that a lot of my friends were comic nerds, so I don't have a collection of my own. But occasionally, while they're drinking, doing whatever, since I don't drink, so I would go through their comic collection.
Right.
So that's how I really got into it. Actually, comic book heroes generally, they tended to bore me. That was especially because of X-Men, because there are too many heroes, too many different mutants, too many glaring weaknesses, and that just always took me out of the illusion.
The
Like,
thing is what you're describing as Superman is very base level. And this is a huge production, right? This is the very beginning of the universe, starting with the Man of Steel, starting and building onto the Justice League. Superman is so fundamental to have the correct values. That's why him and Batman sometimes work off of each other. This is something that cannot be done because you have these terrible interpretations. Hold on, let me get this super chat real quick. Robert, thank you so much. The biggest problem with this movie is simple. It's all shock, no substance. And it entertains people, but they overlook it against this character. I think one more. The way he handled the tanker is the best example. The tanker? The guy that was attacking his mom?
oh,
He gets
the oil tanker. Remember? Is that no the offshore tanker? Is that what he's talking about? Am I using the right word?
maybe, but I don't remember. What happened with the tanker?
The oil rig offshore.
You sound echoey again.
Oh, sorry. Let me see. Let me just go right back over here see if that works. Remember
Okay, right in the beginning.
yeah. Is that what Rob's talking about? Is that familiar? Well, Rob, is that what you're talking about?
I'm assuming so, but I don't think he handled that in a terrible way. Like the jump looked really bad, like just from a CGI standpoint, it looked really bad.
Mhm.
But the fact that he walks in and opens that door, like on fire, that's what Superman would do. But not only that, he's showing his face. So none of this hiding yourself matters. He's shown his face. The way he handles that asshole, like that whole scene is fucking terrible. Wait, no, during the fight was on.
Mhm.
The tanker was thrown, he jumped over it
Yeah.
and let it pass him and explode. It was a great image, horrible action. Right, we don't see Superman when he gets, like, there's a point where they're attacking Martha, right? He takes him up, takes him right through everything he can. He doesn't try to get him out of Smallville. He takes the fight all through Smallville and blows up everybody in that gas station.
All right, let me. I see what Rob said just now because Zod threw a tank at him. And all he does is move on. Okay, first off, Rob, if somebody throws something at you and you take the time to catch it, that's a good way to lose the fight. So I think Superman did the right thing. Let me go back to his first super chat because he said it was all shock, no substance. Absolutely not. The mortality of Superman shown in this movie is something I grew to appreciate. That was one of my biggest criticisms of Superman in metaphor. He's too perfect. The reason writers love him is because when in doubt, make him stronger. It's the same reason any writer would love to. They would love to write for Superman. They would love to write for Joker. They would love to write for Deadpool because within the respective defining characteristics of each individual character, it's very hard to get them wrong. There's a lot of creative freedom. In Deadpool, as long as he's rambling and ranting, you got the character right.
Right.
And
Same with Harley.
It's similar with Harley. They're very easy characters to abuse. And Superman is boring. Superman
Not
classic.
if you have the right writer. You need a Grant Morrison or something more recent. Philip Kennedy Johnson has taken it off of Earth and moved it to War World in order for him to liberate these Philosians that were subjugated by Mongol in all of War World, basically.
But how do you write that? You can't really write in peril because if you know Superman, if you know the character, like I said, when in doubt, make him stronger or give him something else to use. Give him some. Oh, when in doubt, give him time travel. He circles the earth as fast, fast as fuck, and just reverses all the damage. People are perfectly fine somehow.
No, that was
things
bad.
like that. I know it is really, but whether or not you like the exact presentation, whether it's a comic you like, a movie you like or don't like, it's the same thing all across the board. He's just, you can't get him wrong. Like I said, when in doubt, make him stronger. There's no peril in that story.
But they haven't made Superman stronger in 50 years, maybe?
Well, because later writers really were taking on that criticism. That's what I was getting at last time we had this conversation. Well, I was talking about the anthology series by the boys, Diabolical.
Yeah.
So that was just used as an example of how modern writers get to see these characters with a more critical eye than that was not allowed when Superman was around. Let me give everybody a quick history lesson. Because contrary to, and I've explained this to you before, contrary to what people believe today, the U.S. Constitution did not always apply to the states. There are a lot of hiccups along the way, but long story short, courts started determining that the U.S. Constitution does apply to the states. But that came around the time that Superman was around. There was still a lot of censorship going on. The Superman is a product of a very boring and dated era that today would just be shockingly unfamiliar.
And then to add on top of that, you had Seduction of the Innocent come out.
What was that?
It was when they had to do Frederick Wertham wrote a book about how comics were basically, there's a lot to it, but what came out of it was you couldn't have anything that was queer. They had to introduce Batgirl as a love interest for Robin. They had to introduce the original Batwoman as a love interest for Batman. They did there, and not only that, but you had to show women as women. You couldn't use the word horror, not horror. And there was a lot of censorship up until 1988 when they finally did away with that.
And Superman is a product of that. That's what Superman Classic really is. If he were drawn for the first time today, you would probably not even recognize him. Because if you compare him to Superman Classic as you know him now, if you somehow got that chance, you would probably not recognize him in any way whatsoever. It would be something completely different.
I completely disagree. I don't think you've ever found your correct Superman writer. And it's different for all of us. But mine is Grant Morrison. A lot of people love Dan Jurgens, or there's hundreds. But you have to find that writer that, because not every Superman story is great. Contrary to what popular belief here, Superman can suck sometimes, but it depends on who. Every character can suck. If you find that right writer, you'll be able to understand. In All-Star Superman, the moment that did it for me, and if you've seen The Boys, the recent season, they kind of parodied it. A girl ready to take her life on top of a building. And Superman's dying himself. He goes up there. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't use his brute force. He doesn't, catch her. He just sits with her. And that kind of messaging is what's so good about Superman, is that positivity, that inspiration, that being able to use compassion along with the gifts that you're given. And it's one of the greatest Superman stories, like hands down the best Superman story ever told.
The reason people, but here's again what I was criticizing. When I say Superman is a punk, like I said, he only knows strength. In truth, if you don't have that, and you can, that's how real people are, though. If all they think is about how strong they are and how capable they feel like that, they break down when that strength isn't there anymore. I know that because when I used to train to fight. I don't anymore because I can't afford to anymore. But I've been on the mat with guys that are 60 pounds heavier than me. The first thing they do is try. Well, hell, you've never tried to roll a 400-pound fat man over. You don't know what you're missing. The first thing they do is bully you. They try to force you down. They try to squeeze the life out of you. And then all of a sudden they're rolled over, they're choked unconscious, and they don't know what's going on anymore. Do that 3 times in a row, they won't come after you. Because feeling strong and thinking the right way are two very different things. There's a desire to that. If you don't live it and practice it, then it won't be there when you really need it. So that's why with Superman himself, the strength that he displays, like I said, it's a great metaphor. I'm glad people like it. If it inspires people, keep it. But Superman in hypothetical, if that's all he is, he's just a punk. And more than that, he has the power to dictate right and wrong, basically. Now, we get to see him, someone that only makes decisions we tend to agree with, right? That's
This whole thing is completely on a false idea. Superman doesn't just know strength. That's not what he goes with all the time, every time. There are so many great stories that there was one in Superman Red, and Blue, where he literally doesn't use his strength at all. He talks somebody down. This is something that Superman uses a lot. He uses intellect. He uses compassion. He uses understanding. He doesn't always go to brute strength.
When was that written?
I don't know what there was 2 of them. There was one by G. Willow Wilson that was phenomenal, and there was one by the guy that does Jurassic League. They're maybe both less than 2 years old.
Okay, so that is more recent though. So that's
Right.
not someone that's taking Superman Classic and trying to make it work today. He's trying to make it work to a much wider audience, because now Superman has critics as well. He's the perfect hero. It stopped being appreciated a very long time ago, leading into Man of Steel. I don't think a lot of people understand this, that a lot of people really did not like Superman's seeming near perfection past Kryptonite. That was basically the only glaring hole. Now, other things came along later, but you still see what I mean. It's still near perfection, and a lot of people wanted a relatable superhero.
Would you say the exact same thing about Thor?
I think Thor sucks. Marvel's Thor?
Yeah.
I just think he sucks altogether. I was a bigger fan of the mythology. I think it's just. I get that the Marvel's comic isn't supposed to be the myths. I get that for good reason. I respect that, but I just don't care about them.
That's fair. I think
the same thing.
I think it's I think it depends. Again, I don't think you've ever known Superman. I don't think you've known what he stands for. He's not a bully. He's not a punk, so to speak. There are so many great facets. Not only that, but like NWO mentioned Superman and Lois, right? Superman and Lois is, yeah, of course. Superman's going to save the day, but it shows the other sides of him that are more relatable. Him being an amazing father, having to raise 2 teenage boys, going through all the hormones and the girlfriends and the football and everything else. Then on top of that, having to help his son hone his craft because he inherited what Clark has. None of that shows him using his strength. what it shows is every single other side that is great about Superman.
I don't know the exact date, but there was an official canonical announcement by DC that Superman is the strongest being in the entire DC universe. So whether or not different writers will put him in with all that strength, fine. If they don't, that's appreciable.
Superman is not
That's
stronger
cool.
than Milkman. Milkman can literally rewrite reality.
That again, you'd have to look online for the exact time of the statement, but that was something official I saw, and I'm not surprised because that's
I
what
mean,
people have come to expect from Superman. Go ahead if you want to get that.
if Superman was the strongest, then why would there ever be a fight?
That's my point. Like, it's just when writers that was a initially, and I'm looking at the comics and people saying I've never read a comic. That's what I'm telling you. I haven't because I'm not feeling it. I'm not inspired by him. I see the metaphor. I do get that, and I think people have missed that because I've said that repeatedly, guys. The metaphor of Superman is not being dismissed here. This is about Superman in hypothetical.
Okay, let me
Something.
read this, and then I want you to tell me what you think the theme of this whole movie was, because
Okay.
I still don't get how the okay. Prime example here. In Superman Returns, he flew as the glass shattered. He took time to turn around, use his heat vision, and deal with the glass, and continue on. Man of Steel would let it fall. Man of Steel let stuff blow up without turning around to use his oh my god, ice shit. Jesus Christ. His freeze breath. His ice
and
shit. He's
and
just shitting on ice without ice, yeah.
and that's a reference to what I was talking about a moment ago. That Superman past, where that time, all that stuff, where he's taking the time to save people and fight at the same time. Like I said, first off, that's a good way to lose the fight, distract yourself.
Doesn't matter. That's what Superman would do.
I know, but you're still arguing from the perspective of the metaphor of Superman, the guy that he will not allow himself to do any wrong, even by accident. I get that. Like I said, I do respect that metaphor. If that is something that inspires people, please get the right tattoo and live by it.
Right,
But
but you can't expect that. People get Punisher tattoos that are cops. Come on now, like
yeah,
you can't
well,
expect that.
Cops are people too. They can be individuals too.
Oh, for
But
sure.
I know what
But
you're
I'm just
talking.
saying it doesn't make it's nonsensical. That's what I mean. Empaz. Holy shit.
Okay.
The return of Empaz. I love it. Superman Returns. In response to the Lois article of why the world needs a savior, he says, "You wrote that the world doesn't need a savior. Well, every day I hear people crying for one. This is the core of Superman."
Yes, and I'm not dismissing that. I'm not dismissing what Superman was meant to stand for. That's somehow the audience is missing that. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about I'm talking about if Superman would real, what would he really be like? How would he really think? That's not. That's really what I'm talking about. Everything else is not what I'm talking about. People keep going back to the metaphor. Again, I'm not dismissing the metaphor. I'm talking about how someone like that, if he were real, how he would really think. Like I said, if he does not have the desire to be the kind of guy to do the right thing when he's not strong, he's not the right guy for that. He's not really the right hero. He's just doing it because he feels good. Like you talk to anybody who like a firefighter or even somebody that's served in the military, they are never for a second going to tell you that they felt good and strong about anything they had to do. They said they ran, they shot back, they ducked. That's about all they're going to tell you. They're not going to tell you anything about strength. The strength, honestly, is going to be the last thing on your mind if you're in the right frame of mind to do what you're doing. You see something that has to be done, and that's what you're going to do. That's it. If Superman is just strength, he's not always going to do the right thing. And that's what and like I said,
the problem with all of this is what you think. This is your interpretation of how he would be.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't line up canonically with any Superman story. Superman versus the Elite defeats all of Joe's points. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, in the American Way? Another Superman story you should read. That's what Superman and the Elite is based off of. Mm-hmm. It's the idea, basically, that that truth, justice, and the American way are out of fashion, which is completely nonsensical. Thank you,
Right.
Robert, by the way. So tell me, what was the theme of Man of Steel? Because I don't understand it.
I saw Superman with a desire to do the right thing over and over because he was compelled to do that. He was compelled to save kids on the bus, even though Dad said you can't show the world who you really are. He was compelled to save all kinds of people all throughout. Something you said just wasn't in the movie, but it's all through the movie. What
He
you saw
saves
is
Lois and those people in the beginning, yeah.
because so the core of Superman is actually still there. Someone that wants to do the right thing. It's just there are different obstacles along the way. And as far as John Kent not being perfect, guys, understand you, especially if you're longtime fans like you, Elon. Y'all have been around for a while. You had a lifetime to commit to these characters. There is nothing on screen in a 2.5 hour movie that will satisfy you. There will never be something that can satisfy you in
That's
2 hours.
fair.
And look at the Batman. You've been praising it ever since it came out. I've been praising it ever since it came out, but everybody agreed 3 hours is a long fucking time.
Of course.
Like 2 hours 58 minutes officially. I think that's including the credits, but still 2 hours and 52 minutes of movie. Oh wait, yes, it would. If you stomach it, it's yes, it's very satisfying. But there was still frustration along the way. So the longtime fans of any hero, they can't be satisfied in that time. So John's imperfections, again, I'm trying to look at what was trying to be told with this story. And you also remember, Kurt Russell's in the movie. He's got to get screen time. He had to explain some things. I don't, like I said, I don't think there was, I don't think you were ever going to be completely satisfied, no matter how this movie was originally intended to be. There was
The
always going to be
difference
something
here,
like that.
the difference here, your comparison is bad because Batman still has the core of the character. It still has what Batman represents, what his drive is, what he's doing. This movie just has
The
so
Batman
much
did not
murder,
do a lot to
so much plot
explore.
holes.
Like I'm by no means I say the movie was perfect. I just
I
said it was
know.
good enough. But as far as the Batman, they didn't explore a lot of young Bruce Wayne, the struggles that he went through going into manhood and being the man that he is in that movie. They didn't explore that very much at all. Now
Please
you
tell
know
me
that
that you don't think that 90% of America knows Bruce Wayne's origins.
they no, they do know his origin, but the movie didn't touch on it. Now,
Right.
if that's your first Batman movie, you're missing something, right?
Of course, but there's a book that goes along with it that explains it all.
All right. But people didn't pay to see a 3 hour book. They paid to see a
That's
3 hour
true.
movie.
There's also a comic that goes along with Superman Man of Steel that made it worse. They kill Kara. You know that ship he walks into?
Mm-hmm.
That's Kara's ship. There was no chance of having Supergirl ever in this universe because they killed Kara before even bringing her on the fucking the screen. Like, we don't even get like very basic conversations that are so important and integral to Clark growing up. The ones that we get are so bad. It makes Jonathan, like, the worst part about this movie, hands down, is that Jonathan is a terrible father. Like, the rest, Clark, struggling. Of course. He's it, another thing they focus on hugely is that Clark is an alien. He's an alien. He's an alien. No, he is a human. They make it seem like he's this obviously this alien, but this foreign entity. Clark is human in all the ways that matter, but they brush that to the side because it goes better with the Zod theme, right? Like, there's so much fundamentally wrong with the origin of Superman here. Comparing it to the Batman is bad because you can't name those things that are wrong in that movie as compared to this one. Like, you could probably say the stuff about you don't know how evil, Thomas might have been. Was he or was he not? Like, that's about it, right? Like, there's not a whole lot to go off of and say it's a totally different character.
No, the things wrong with the Batman that are very different. Like Catwoman trying to interrogate gangsters, just asking them questions like that. That's a good way to get shot. I've seen criminals, well, guys in gangs, they get mad at stuff like that. You ask them questions, they get really mad. They say, what are you? Are you a cop? You're a cop. We're gonna have problems. Okay, that's
Right.
reality. That's just one comment on that so far. But what I'm talking about in comparing the Batman to really anything else, I'm just saying you, the longtime reader, cannot be satisfied in
Why?
a
I was
2 hour.
satisfied with Batman.
But so that's you. But what about somebody that wanted to see Bruce Wayne's origin explored?
Then go watch the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
That's not this movie though. It's a different.
Right.
It's a different setting. It's a
And
different
I can
Batman.
understand that criticism. I can. But I think was it Matt Reeves specifically said that they've done that so many times that they didn't want to go back to that. They really wanted to focus on a young Batman, but not necessarily his origin. And I
Right.
can understand that. Of course, I wasn't satisfied with everything. Of course I
Now, hold
wasn't.
on.
But I
But now
didn't
look at
have
what you said. You
what?
said so. We're talking about Batman's origins being much less explored in the Batman compared to Nolan's trilogy. Okay, like you
Right.
said, two different visions, two different stories.
Right.
Same thing with this one. Same thing with Man of Steel. Different renditions, different impressions of the character, different stories to tell.
The
Different.
fundamental baseline of the character was there in both series, though, right?
Say again.
The fundamental understanding of what Batman is was in both. They didn't change his character. I'm not against creative liberties. I never have been. But they didn't take so much creative liberties that they completely changed the character.
No, well, no, I don't think, and still don't think the core of Superman is gone. We'll use this as a segue into the next movie, or do you want to go that far into the next movie throughout the Snyderverse trilogy?
Yeah, go. I haven't seen them in a while, so you might have to remind me a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a lot of reminding. Let's just stick to what we know, especially with especially with Snyder's Cut. And I just found this out recently. The black white version supposedly has a different conversation with the Joker.
Oh, really?
Supposedly it does. I haven't looked into it. Supposedly it does. So.
Well, I've seen that movie when it came out. I just haven't seen oh, what's it called? I haven't seen BVS in a while because I watched it once and it was so bad that I just like Batman branding people to get them killed in jail. Again, I liked Ben Affleck. I think he does a great Bruce Wayne. That wasn't Batman.
No.
Batman's just like Superman, and it's very different than like Marvel, right? Because sometimes they don't care. They murder whatever. They move on. It's for the greater good. Batman and Superman don't, right? Generally.
Because DC wanted these characters to last, and if nobody dies, you can always bring villains back. It was just a money move. It's not a moral thing. Coincidentally, it's there. Coincidentally, it's a moral. It's a moral decision and it's a money decision. Because if nobody dies, like I said, you can always bring them back, and you can always revisit that frustration of why didn't I kill him? Should I kill him? You can bring that over and over. From a business standpoint, that's a great move. Never kill anybody. Always leave the audience wondering if they're ever going to die or when they're going to come back next. It's a great way to tease them. That's really all that is. But let me try to talk about what you were saying a moment ago, and then we'll use that to segue into the next movie. So as far as John's imperfection, that's fine. I get that. Through this movie, so remember he's talking about John as an alien. So you're not of this world. And that's something that should be alarming to people. And that was the underlying theme throughout the entire next movie. They saw what Superman is capable of, and the first thing they wondered, well, lots of people saw a hero, lots of people saw a potential villain. And in truth, that's what people would really do. Especially with history as we know it today. If someone like Superman were real, people are going to look to religion and other existing mythology and try and make sense of that. a lot of fears really would come to mind. Like, I don't think a lot of people understand this because you all know Zeus. Even if you're not keenly familiar with Greek mythology, I'm not either. I know a few stories. But Zeus was well known that he did horrible things. The king of gods did horrible things. Even the Roman iteration, Jupiter, did really horrible things. And I don't think most people know this. Zeus was the god of justice. Zeus controlled all right and wrong, and that's really the metaphor. If one guy controls right and wrong, it belongs to him
But
until he's
Clark,
gone.
they should have had more trust if he was not a murdering psychopath in the beginning. He snapped his neck.
You are the audience. You got to see that. The entire world didn't. The entire
Wait,
world.
you don't
Remember?
think they know he snapped his neck? You think they hid that?
I don't know if they hit it. I don't remember that being explored from there. I don't remember much of a conversation.
I don't remember either.
But you see what I mean? And this is also something that the viewer gets wrong when they were talking about frustration with this movie. They are the audience. They are in the privileged position. They get to hear the story. They get to hear his story. They get to hear everybody's story. And so all these people saying, how could you say that about the hero? Because they wouldn't really see a hero. Like I said, Zeus was a god of justice. And people will look to those stories to try to make, if Superman were real, they would look to stories like that to try to make sense of something they see up there in the sky. That can, like I said, some of his mortality was shown in the first movie, but then it started to disappear. So
I think
as
I
far
think
as
you give I think you're giving people too much credit. They won't even fact check if what's on the news, let alone look to Greek mythology. I
I
would
would wonder
too.
the same thing. But what I'm saying is there would be mixed responses to Superman. And that's really what that movie captured, a lot of mixed responses, but the emphasis was the fear. Because, of
But
course, that's what's on the news.
there would be much more of a positive response if he didn't destroy Smallville and Metropolis and become a murdering. Hold on, keep talking. My cats are fighting. 1 second.
Superman as a murderer, guess what? He killed the alien. He killed the alien that was actually there to ruin the entire Earth. So actually, more people would appreciate that than not. I know people don't like that Superman. They don't like the Superman that kills. Like I said, that's just a business move by DC. It prolongs the series. In truth, people really want the evil alien dead. If they can see one good one, one evil one, then they want the evil one dead. So that's why I don't see anything wrong with that. And remember, I didn't grow up attached to the metaphor of Superman. I always found it boring. You know, I always thought that wasn't really a great hero. I understand what he stood for. It doesn't take decades of reading to really get that, though. Are you back in?
Yes, they had
Okay.
freaking Bane cornered, like crying. Freaking baby.
Who's Brian? Wait, you say Brian?
Bane. His name is Bane.
Oh, it's all like you said Brian. Okay.
No,
As
Bane,
far
like the character. Get it? Haha, I'm so
as
funny. Okay, go
no,
ahead.
I actually like Bane as a villain better than Joker because Joker can get senseless. Bane is a bit more organized. So if you're
Bane is
writing,
extremely intelligent, but they fucked that up in the movie too.
no, Nolan's version of Bane was a nightmare. I hated that
Mm-hmm.
movie. Like, no, my first impression of that movie was like you're talking like the fucking baboon from the Lion King. That's your voice.
Oh my god!
That
Like,
was
whose creative choice was that?
I think it was Hardy's.
Oh
If I
my!
remember that was Hardy's. Well, whoever. Yeah, he said he liked it, but somebody else gave it the okay. So there are at least two people to blame for that one. As far as okay, so people took a lot of issue with death in this movie. Like I said, the perfect Superman is kind of weird. The guy that's taking the time to save people and then fight back at the same time. If you're that goddamn good that you can save people and win the fight at the same time, then just win the fight and then they stop. Then the danger stops. Stop the danger sooner.
Why
That's
not
practical
both? Save people's
because
life in
if you're taking
his.
the time to save people, because what's first off, they got in trouble because of the guy you're fighting. So hurry up and finish the guy you're fighting, and then people are in less danger. Okay, you see what I mean? It's
Hmm.
just a hole in his. It's just a hole in his design.
I
That's been
think
it's a frustration captured. That's a frustration that was echoed for many years leading up to this movie. Probably still is. And that, like I said, his mortality, his less perfect presentation in this movie, even if it wasn't a lot, it was just a few things like just struggling to crush a robot, or the fighter jets they shot him in it, sent him all the way to another continent. That wasn't a lot, but still, it gave an impression that he can be hurt. It gave an impression that this is a Superman that has to struggle, because Superman Classic doesn't really have to struggle. I mean, the purest form of Superman, he doesn't really have to struggle because he always has the strength to do it right. This Superman has to struggle. And since this Superman has to struggle to do the right thing, that means he really wants to do it. That's a good Superman. That's a good
no.
hero.
I think you are. I think the issue is here is on a fundamental level. You don't understand that Superman's not supposed to be relatable. He's not. The tough decisions come easy to him. He's not perfect, but he is supposed to be the best of humanity and
Right.
inspire the people around him. A murderer can't inspire.
Yeah, you think so? But I actually, yeah, a lot of the guys I know yet do get the wrong impression from certain figures in history. But as
That's
far as
fair.
what
That's
you're saying
fair.
now, but like I said in the beginning, that impression of Superman is not lost on me. I get that he's not supposed to be entirely real. He's supposed to be an aspiration. And
Right.
again, people who see that aspiration seek it, absolutely seek it. I'm not here to take issue with that aspiration specific. This is not about what Superman stands for. This is about Superman applied, if that guy is real. And like I said, a struggling hero, that's somebody that really wants to do it. A guy that only does it because he's strong. Now he does it because he's strong, not because it's the right thing.
That's not why he does it, though.
But
He does it
but
because it's the right thing to do.
for sure, if you see a guy struggling to do the right thing, you know for a fact he wants to do that. You know goddamn well if it
You
hurts
also
along the way, he's
know
going
you also
to.
know that somewhere in his conscience there's a little bit of doubt that maybe it would just be easier to let somebody die. That's not somebody I'm going to trust.
Addressing if you're in the real world, addressing real emergencies does mean sometimes really bad things happen. And that is the truth. It's the truth that people don't want to see because they are too used to Superman Classic. They are too used to comic book heroes. But like we see real emergencies addressed on TV, sometimes very poorly addressed. Sometimes even when they're addressed well, things go wrong. That such is actually life though. But you see people struggling on the way and they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to make the emergency stop. So for a real hero, if you want to know the real hero from not, it's that guy. That
This
guy
is
who
a
got hurt
really
along
good
the way
point.
and still made it happen. That's the guy that's the guy you should be calling the hero. That's the guy you should be honoring. That's the guy
There,
you should be taking after.
your
That's the
mic
guy
just
you want.
all of a sudden got really good.
Well, this is what I have been trying to say. Like I said, I had to separate you from the metaphor of Superman so you can understand what I'm really trying to say.
But
Superman
it's
applied.
all on a flawed foundation. Superman applied, we've seen done before. Superman Returns, all of the Superman, all of the years of comics. And as long as the writer is able to craft the story well enough, it's believable.
And I
Thank
do
you,
think he
Robert.
can be.
You
What
who?
about it?
David Goyer? Okay, wait, hold on.
And I
Joe
am seeing
is saying
Superman the way Lex does.
yes, a
I admit that.
very, very cynical look at what Superman is. And Superman is the epitome of half glass full, right? Like of optimism. And
Hmm.
when you're seeing it through a lens of he's a punk, you're not seeing what's great about him. And I'm not the biggest Superman fan. Like Batman, fucking I like Harley Quinn better. I like Cat, like there's so many characters. But what you haven't connected with, I think is the right story for you.
Hmm.
And the point is, you can't look at Superman is not the character you subvert expectations to. It's not the character that you decompress
Right.
and try to make him more humanized. You take him as an inspirational tool. And this, not only, like, the best part of this movie was that Jenny scene where she's under the rocks and she's the most believable person. Perry White in that scene was more Superman than Superman destroying all of Smallville. I never finished reading the super chat. Yeah.
Oh, he said that I was seeing Superman. That was Rob saying I'm seeing Superman the way Lex Luthor sees him.
Yeah. I completely agree. You're seeing him from that cynical aspect instead of looking at it and realizing this is not the character to do that to. You can't decompress Superman in the way that you could do it to even Batman or Catwoman or not so much Wonder Woman. You can't take him down to humanity's level. You have to lift up humanity to his level.
And I admit I see it the way that Lex, and as I understand it, Lex originally was not conceived as an enemy of the people, just an enemy of Superman. Because he wanted to prove that dependency on Superman was unhealthy because people will expect him to solve all their problems and they will not do anything for themselves. And their mythology tells a similar story that tells the story in reverse. Like a lot of people know the story of Prometheus, the guy that gave fire to man. People think that's just the origin story of fire. It's not. The entirety of the story goes that Zeus punished Prometheus for giving fire to men because now that men have fire, they won't go to gods for anything. They'll do everything themselves. They cook their own meals, they build their own houses, they made their own weapons. Then now they're warm at night. They can do it all themselves. There's no dependency on superiors. So the opposite is also true. That's what Superman was capturing, the opposite. And that is true. We even see that today. Like devoutly religious people will sometimes just pray instead of solve real problems. I knew somebody, he was a diehard Catholic. Well, I don't know about diehard, but he was devout. He was a really good guy, but he got to a point where he was losing his house. All he did was drink and pray. He does not own that house anymore. And that is what happens when people see a superior they think is going to do it all for them. It really does happen. So Lex is touching on something very important. Now, of course, he's a villain, so you're not supposed to like him. That's good.
Right.
That's a good villain. You're not supposed to like the villain. Zod in Man of Steel, I remember Bianca talking about how Zod should just let it go. Krypton's gone, whatever. He can't. What makes Zod a good villain, even though his acting, so like I said, the actor was a joke. No argument.
Hey, really? I didn't think it was terrible.
Like I said, when his voice squeaked,
my issue is I try to not blame the actors because this movie failed on a writing level.
And yeah, it's the same reason I have frustrations with Christopher Nolan. That'll be a separate conversation. But some of his directing is just really cliche. It's a lot of directing cliches are all over his.
You're not my dad. God. Or I just think he's really hot. Shut the fuck up.
I wasn't the only one laughing at that too.
Oh my god! And they made Lois so thirsty. Like Lois to me in this wasn't Lois.
I will side with you that Lois and Clark, their relationship in this movie was just thrown together.
It was bad. No, it felt like in Superman and Lois, I know it has more time, right, to develop things. But you see the side of Lois that fucking matters. This one, her whole destination was Clark. Whether it was writing or going, like, the man went crazy as a kid and couldn't hear, like, had to go in the closet because he was hearing anything, but he couldn't hear fat ass Lois, like, trying to follow behind him. Like, there were so many unbelievable points. Like, she's not really fat. I'm just saying, like, the point is there was so much bad writing in this.
Love-hate relationship with each other anyway. I think you said what you meant.
I just don't like her as Lois. I don't at all. I don't think I've seen her in anything else, to be fair, but she's not Lois Lane. Like,
she wasn't, like I said, Lois really did. It felt like she had a bare minimum role. Like I said, the relationship between them, they're in a room and she falls in love.
Can you explain Can you explain why she went on that ship besides plot armor?
No.
Yeah, exactly. And why does every ship and why does every holding cell for prisoners has a US, like that USB thing that she puts in the key? Why would it be in there?
I don't know. Yeah, like you said, as far as going to the ship, I just remember she was talking. Well, remember she's talking about aliens in the beginning. That that's what was going on at the time, right? Aliens are real. Someone's out there trying to hide. The truth is out there. That whole shit.
Right.
That things. I know people love that conversation. To me, it's over and done with. But I do agree with you. Lois felt that, like I said, their relationship just felt contrived. It did feel incomplete. Maybe
Yeah.
the movie meant to be longer. Obviously, Zach gets real. This creative crew, they get really wordy, as we saw in the second movie with the extended cut. And we'll start exploring that one better right now. But I do agree with you. That
It
was just the
it
way
was
it
just
was.
such a waste. It was such a waste of a character, like even to the point where we see like Perry saying, "I'm going to they want me to sue you." Like, "I'm going to bury your story that you worked so hard on." Instead of saying, "You know what? You are a Pulitzer," like she pulls out that "I'm a Pulitzer Prize winner."
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, you are. And I believe you have a story here.
He
Get
should have
me
thrown a
A,
book at
B,
her.
C, and D, and maybe I'll print it. Like, I believe in you. But no, he was like, "I'm gonna sue you."
I don't even know that she did anything unconstitutional. I don't remember. I didn't hear anything defamatory or anything misrepresenting. I don't remember anything in that story.
She leaked her story to an internet blog.
Hmm.
Her story she wrote to an internet blog. I mean, I'm sure
Oh,
she's
okay.
under contract,
That's what.
but
Okay. All right. That's what. Okay. Well, never mind all that. Okay. Let me get back to Zod as a villain. So when you did the video earlier this week with Bianca, she touched on how Zod was obsessed with rebuilding Krypton instead of just letting it go. Now, apparently some people missed that he is compelled to do that. He was engineered to be that guy. That's
right, he
also what
was
makes him
born that way.
fundamentally, that's what makes him a good villain. Because insofar as I can understand, the nature of good and evil really just revolves around two people disagreeing over right and wrong and how far they're willing to take it. How they got to that disagreement, that becomes a point of debate. That becomes a point of further discussion. But fundamentally, it's just two people disagreeing over right and wrong. And Zod is engineered to disagree with you over what right and wrong is.
Right.
That's the thing. He's not even there. It's not even that he just. It's not even so much that he didn't. That he just fundamentally despised people. The real thing is he was an engineered patriot.
Right.
So he was compelled to do it. If he could have coexisted, he would have, but apparently not. So that's why he went to terraforming the earth. And
Right, but
that's.
what was the wait, hold on.
Mhm.
Explain this one then. Why did they even need to terraform it?
I don't remember.
You can't because there's no reason given.
But
They
they
can
do that
literally
anyway.
live on Earth. They can literally live on Earth and have the powers of the yellow sun. Live with humans,
No,
but
if
they
I remember.
decide to terraform it for no reason.
No, do you remember Zod was talking to somebody back on the ship, the older guy? I think he explained it. I think he explained it somewhere in there, and I missed it. But remember, that's what his species does. They terraform. They make the Earth to their liking. Remember,
Right, and I can understand that, just like they destroyed Krypton and then damned all their people, even though they said in the beginning there is inhabitable Earths that we can go to, but fuck all you guys. There is inhabitable Earth, there's inhabitable planets, I'm sorry, that we can
right?
go to. But they're like, "Nah, we just rather die."
No, again, he's a villain. You're not supposed to like him. I get that there's
No,
maybe
I'm
there's
talking
something that
about
we both
the
miss.
people on Krypton.
Wait, you mean? Well, oh, you took it further to the beginning. Is that what you're talking about in the beginning, where
Yeah,
his
they
frustration with the politicians?
yeah, because they're stupid. They damn all their people, even though they know that they could evacuate and go to these inhabitable Earths. And
Right.
the fight with Zod and Jarrell is ridiculous. ridiculous. Like, Jor-El is a scientist, and he beats up Zod while all of his henchmen wait. He beats him with science.
Well, okay, he's not a smart general. That's on him.
That's what I'm saying. When you look at this from a standpoint of plot, it falls apart. Like, they were literally going at the core. They were using their own core for energy. How fucking stupid are you?
Well, like he said, it was the politicians' decisions. Remember, that was the point. Obviously, the politicians are not to be trusted, but that's what happened. And also remember that species is engineered. That's what Superman's real father explained, is that everybody was engineered for their exact roles. So obviously there's an error in design, and their species was destined to be self-destructive. So that actually is what's captured in there. It's just, you got to piece it together.
They're idiots? I mean, I guess if they were giving off the theme that politicians are idiots, it works. And it's true. So it works out.
They did, but see, that's not. I don't even think that's really bad writing. That is the truth. That politicians make decisions for themselves. Whatever. Here's the thing: they didn't actually explore why the politicians did that. They just said it was just Zod saying, "Your decisions did this to us," in different words. So that's true. They didn't actually go into detail with what the politicians were doing wrong. They just threw it in there. Again, the movie does have a rushed feel. It's possible that they wanted this one, they wanted this one to be longer like the other ones. They just didn't get to do it because this was the first movie. And that's how it is. Any first season, any first movie, the investment gets less money. Corners get cut, errors get made. You can try and correct it later if you can. I think that's really what we saw.
Then then how can you excuse that when we've seen great origin stories for characters like the Batman, like Iron Man, like Captain America? Those are great origins.
They wanted more money. They were different movies. I don't think as much was being said in Iron Man compared to Man of Steel. So yeah, they had plenty of time to touch on Tony's origin and what drives him. But then once it's said, what do they do?
But we don't even know what drives Superman in this movie.
He was compelled to do what he thought was the right thing. Because remember, his real father.
I mean, kinda.
Well, like I said, he just didn't do it perfect. Like I said, as long as you look for perfect, you're never going to be happy. And that's also why I enjoyed this movie, though. I wasn't looking for perfect. Even though I expected that going in, because I'm typically underwhelmed by the character. But I expected perfect going in. I got less than perfect, and that's actually why I was satisfied.
And that's fair.
But like I said, just the little things. Just his mortality. Even only in glimpses. Even that said, this is a guy that has to struggle to do the right thing. That's more likable. Because like I said, you see somebody struggling to do the right thing, you know they really want it. And that's somebody to appreciate. That's why I actually like this. Well, that's really
ever struggle to do the right thing. If I see somebody that needs help and I can do it, I'm going to do it. There's no question there. And that's the same with Superman. That's how it should be. Superman shouldn't literally let things blow up and people die all because he's mad over his mama. Like, that's not Superman.
And like I said, there was a frustration there with earlier longtime readers of the series.
Right.
If he is so powerful that he can save everybody and beat the villain at the same time, then just hurry up and beat the villain. A lot of the saving that you're seeing, it's just Superman showing off. It's just the artists and the writers showing off for you. That's all it really is. All it really says about the character is that he's arrogant as fuck, and he takes his sweet goddamn time getting to the real issue. The guy
by that time, it's already lost upon Earth because they already hate Superman for being a murderer. You got to build the foundation of inspiration and of good. You can't build it on a faulty foundation.
Faulty. Well, again, we're disagreeing over what's faulty, but let me make sure I
Murder is faulty.
Murder. Hold on. Murder is an unjust killing. You're saying that killing the guy that came to Earth to kill 8 billion people, you're saying killing him is not just?
You're saying that a single person should be judge, jury, and executioner?
In the moment, that's how people save their lives all the time.
Why not just put his hand in front of his eyes?
Was it going to work? Looked like this shit hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, it probably does. But
But
it's better than Superman murdering.
well, maybe this version didn't have that option, and that's also what makes him that's also why I liked it better.
I'm
Because
not
he is,
talking just about Zod, though. He killed hundreds of people throughout the city.
like I said, if those guys were real, that's probably what would happen. And hell, you remember in Dragon Ball, yeah, I know you don't follow that very close. I stopped 20 years ago. But Goku and Superman are essentially the same character. All the same things happen all over. Things get destroyed. And contrary to what some people think, where you're trying to lure people away from the city, sometimes the bad guy doesn't let you. So a lot of people, I saw that all over this channel. You guys were frustrated because Superman made no effort to actually take people away from the city. Well, if he's strong enough to just grab 3 people or 3 different aliens and put them in one spot on the Earth, then he should have won the fight in no time anyway. But he wasn't
Right,
that.
but that's
He's someone that
generally
had to
why he
fight.
has, even if he's unable to, that's generally why he has people like even Perry, Lois, Jimmy. They help get people out. Lois doesn't try to get people out. She doesn't try. He doesn't try. He doesn't use his freeze breath on the fires. None
Lois
of
didn't
what.
do a lot in this movie, but flail red hair in the wind. We know
That's true.
that.
That's true. That's true.
But answer me this, guy. Answer me this in the chat, everybody listening. If Superman can just take 3 aliens supposedly near equal in strength to him, or maybe even greater, if he can just by force put them somewhere else safe in the Earth, just to keep innocent humans from dying, where's the peril? Anybody
And
answer that?
what do you
And that's
mean?
also
Where
why.
they're
Where's the peril?
invading Earth, he has to stop those two giant angry crabs.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
the
that
peril.
easy,
But the
right?
problem, it's not just that. This movie fails on so many levels. Like they freeze Zod, right? And put him in the giant black dildos and send him up to the why didn't they just put every single
I,
person
I love that you
on
bring
that?
that up because I wasn't the only one laughing about that in theaters.
Like there's so many phallic and vagina symbols in this, it's ridiculous. It's bad. Like I have no idea what was on those set costume mine, but they were horny little bitches. Um,
You didn't see Sucker Punch, Zach. And like I said, if you haven't seen Sucker Punch, good. I would have actually rather been punched than see that movie.
is it
Okay,
that bad?
I've had both, and I would rather get punched again.
Oh my god.
No, it really is. If really, like, I don't think you can get high enough to appreciate the movie. I left. I tried to leave, but my friend was driving that day, and he said, "Well, I already paid to be here, so I'm just going to sit through the whole thing." So he wouldn't let me wait in the car, so I
Wow.
had to finish the movie. It
I
really is
s-
that bad.
I seen Raymond say earlier in the chat that they lobotomize women that don't behave or something.
There's something like that. I'm trying to block out the movie. I don't care if I got something
Fair.
wrong.
That's
I
fair.
don't. Maybe, yeah. I got lobotomy watching that movie. That's how bad it is.
That's
All right.
fair. I don't think, and I think Zach has talent for certain things. I'm not a hater. I don't like that he like weaponized Ray Fisher and stuff. So I don't agree with his decision. I didn't mind Watchmen, but also I think Zach works a lot better when he uses characters that can be anti-heroes, right? He took the most inspirational character in comics. Like not just at DC. I'm talking about in comics.
Yeah,
The
like I said, worldwide, Superman is still the biggest name in superheroes. Yeah, and I was seeing that even in Tokyo. So I know exactly what you're talking about. No,
and
sorry
I
about that.
just he can write, he can do anti-heroes. He can do
Yeah,
that, like that line of morality. But Superman draws a hard line. There is no gray area when it comes to saving people and being about truth, justice, in the American way. Like, I get why you say he should have killed Zod, and I could even say, yeah, it was deserved. But at the same point, He's not judge, jury, and executioner, and one of his main facets is justice. He he wouldn't do that. He would put him in the phantom zone. He would take him up. Like Superman, like that's another scene that drives me crazy in this is he gets in the ship and he passes out and Superman doesn't he's getting used to our atmosphere. Bitch, what?
Mhm.
Superman can go in space.
Right. Well, there's still but atmospheric pressure still applies to soft tissue. You still have to adjust. Like even just sending people into space right now, one of the reasons people haven't gone all the way to Mars, other than the fact that nobody wants to give up 6 months of their life, is because the atmospheric changes will completely destroy you. Your bones will come apart. So at least to us, that's a legitimate concern. I
But
think
he's
it is for the science.
Kryptonian. And with the yellow sun, he would be healing.
Like I said, I don't know how much of Superman's entirety was actually meant to be implemented in this series, but
That's the problem. What you just said is the problem in a nutshell.
you think so. But let's continue on to the next one. So you said you don't remember Batman v Superman. Let's just try and talk about the last two movies in at the same time.
Okay.
So you didn't like that movie. First off, it was a slow movie. It was a story. It was like Watchmen. Watchmen wasn't excitement all up and down.
Right.
Watchmen was a story. So if you're not the kind of guy to sit through and try and grasp through the dialogue how people are feeling and then what it's leading up to, it's not the movie for you. And I know that's not what people wanted to see. Hell, some people just wanted to see Batman, Superman fight to the death. But that wasn't what you were getting.
Which is stupid because they're the world's finest team. Like, unless he was going for Injustice Superman, which is clearly what he was going for, I don't know what he was thinking, making Batman and Superman fight right away. That was so dumb. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, to me, that scene's actually a good one for me personally. I understand, like I said, a lot of people didn't want to sit through a long 2.5 hour story. And that's generally not what you expect from superheroes. But that movie, that metaphor actually screams at me personally because I'm an atheist, and Superman was always seen as something like a god. And
Right.
there's a metaphor in there. I don't know that it was specifically intended, but it's in there. It's written in there, like it or not, because well, people realistically they fear gods, but then you have something like Superman with this glaring weakness. Basically, what it comes down to is the God that you saw before you. All of a sudden, he's just not a God anymore. He's been crushed. He's been everything about him just came off as an illusion. He's just completely gone. So, for me, that metaphor there is that if gods can be crushed altogether, are they even gods at all? So that was something that I personally appreciate. I understand that's not going to be how everybody sees that movie, but personally, that was something I appreciated because I've always seen, well, for a very long time now, I've just seen gods as illusions.
Right.
And illusions are things that people should be spending their time if they haven't spent the time already. Illusions are things that people should look to crush.
Right.
So that was just something that I personally appreciated.
And I can understand that, but the rest of the movie, like making Batman another murderer, like, and then having Zack Snyder, as fucking cocky as he is, coming out and say, "My superhero wouldn't kill, loser." Like, he didn't actually expect to get a wide variety of fans with the. I don't know, like, it in business, you want to be inclusive, right? You want to get the biggest target audience you can.
Mm-hmm.
What was he thinking? Like, honestly, at the core of it, I don't understand how fundamentally changing these characters. The best part of that movie was that when Wonder Woman jumps in, best part of the movie. And then the idea of that terrible, nasty, was it that movie with the Doomsday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. And the drinking piss and just.
I don't think it was. Did she actually did drink it?
I don't know if she drank it, but it was like a piss jar. Like,
I don't think she drank. It was there. I remember it was there. Yeah, that was Yeah, sometimes Zach likes to be gritty. I thought that was stupid too, but
Yeah, and Samuel makes a good point. What was Lex's motivation in BVS? Was it ever revealed besides just being nefarious?
yes, yeah, it was revealed. There, you remember when he met with Superman on the rooftop? He was explaining
I
basically the same thing, that he does not believe that gods, if they are real, they are all good. He said if gods, because horrible things happened to Lex growing up. So if God is all powerful, he is not all good. So he wanted to, and again, he sees Superman as a god. So he sees Superman as something that needs to be destroyed. So that's what was
That's very
driving him that
Lex.
whole time.
That's
Yes.
very Lex. And I'm gonna be honest. I seen the movie once. It was terrible. I never want to see it again. But we're gonna review it anyways. Me and Bianca. But
Okay.
I didn't remember. It was like, again, if the best parts of both of your movies are the girl cameos, it's a problem. Like,
All right, let me explore what was trying to be said in this movie otherwise. So I already explained what's personal to me. If Superman is a god and a god can fail, then he's not a god at all. That much is personal to me, and I do think that's something that people should look to. That's a question people should ask themselves in life. As far as the movie itself, the story being told, people, like I said, in real life, if people saw someone like Superman, not from the privileged position of us, the viewer and the reader, where we get to see the entire story, if we're just on the outside watching everything get destroyed and unfold, we will start to wonder if we are next. And we will start to wonder if we have solutions. And Batman did the same thing in this movie. He said this is someone that needs to go away because he is too powerful to live amongst us. Now again, I'll remind you, Zeus, the king of gods in mythology, was the god of justice, and he was the most horrible figure in all of Greek
right.
mythology. So the guy that controls right and wrong for himself, that means right and wrong belongs to him. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to anybody except him. So there could be no right and wrong until he's gone. So that is a real concern that people would be driven by. They would actually try to seek to get rid of Superman. So what you saw is Batman trying to be that one guy to get rid of, to get rid of this alien, that he can save 8 billion people because he saw a threat that, again, he's
Right.
not the
And
reader. He's not.
it's
Well, like I
very
said,
Batman to have a backup for everybody in the Justice League. That's very much so true. And I could have taken a BVS, but when Frank Miller did this kind of idea, which is where Zach pulled a lot of inspiration. It's not one of my favorite stories anyway. I think it's super overrated. I know it's like blasphemy, but he pulled from
look at that,
very
67,000, was that 63,000, 61,000? Well, subscribers going down, 59. Look what you did.
right.
I'll
But
still be there.
he pulled from ideals that were so dark and gritty that it didn't connect with the audience as a whole, right? It
Well,
didn't connect with not only like comic book readers, but it didn't connect with your normal audience. If you're trying to get normies in those seats, you can't you can't go this dark. You can't tell these type, oh my fucking cord.
look, your
Yeah,
cats are hungry. They're eating the internet because you don't feed them.
you can't tell. You can't go this dark and this decompressed and this, like, not even decompressed, this fucking mess. Like, there was no direction to this
You
universe as a whole.
you say that. All right, let's start with the fight. So as we've established, Batman is trying to be a hero for the whole Earth because he sees one guy that controls right and wrong. He says that's too much power for one guy. Nobody should be able to do that. Now, Batman knows he can't even do that. He's always in Gotham. He happened to be visiting Metropolis that day. Okay. So he rationalizes that this one guy needs to go because there's no way to trust him. And if there's one way to kill him, it's got to be done to make sure that the rest of us can live. Because if we don't, then we
Again,
find out the hard way. All of a sudden, we're
getting
not.
that
We're,
idea of judge, jury, and executioner that neither one of these characters actually have.
what's the
But I
question?
get it. Continue.
Oh, okay. All right. So they fight because they misunderstood. Truthfully, there was a misunderstanding. They don't understand that that Clark isn't actually interested in killing people. They didn't understand that he actually wants Earth to be perfectly fine. So here's what happens. Now now in comes Doomsday. So Doomsday is finally an opponent to really make Superman struggle. So that, again, I think that's a good villain. Even if Doomsday himself isn't very deep, at least for the moment there's a struggle. There,
Right.
not and I mean a real struggle, like the difference between Spider-Man and Venom, which initially
Right.
I thought was a good rivalry because Venom was better at everything the hero does. Until all of a sudden he's a total pussy and you light a match in front of him. Okay, so you can tell I have issues with the original Venom too, but still, that just that meeting where you're face to face with somebody that's better at you at everything you do, and you still have to find a way to win. That's something compelling. That grabs you. That makes you pay closer attention. So that's why I appreciate Doomsday in this movie. But skipping ahead, so now Superman is dead, and now going into the next movie, Batman realizes he made a mistake. He killed the wrong guy. And the entire movie is, well, a lot of things are going on at the time. But for Bruce himself, he's grappling with the decision he made. He weakened Superman, and that was the guy that could have saved it. That's the guy that could have saved everybody. And now something even worse is on the way. So they finally decide they have to bring this guy back. They are no good without him. That he really is that important in their future. So they bring him back. And of course, it's a mess along the way. He's crazy when he comes back. He doesn't know what's going on. He's got to make sense of himself again. So, what happened at the end of this movie? You got that near perfect Superman that cannot be beat. The guy that magically appeared in front of a battle axe. It was completely unscathed. And what did he do? At the same time, he flew way the fuck out of the way. He carried a huge building full. What was it, an orphanage or some shit? He carries that miles away just to save him, then comes back and kills the bad guy instead of just killing the bad guy right away or beating the bad guy. Sorry. So what you got at the end of this movie is the Superman you really wanted. After all was said and done, you finally got that near perfect Superman that symbolizes hope. And here's how I know you got that. I hated that ending. I thought he was doing great until he finally did that. I thought just clinging to the hero is
The end of
I
which
just
movie, though? Are you talking about Justice League?
now I skipped ahead to Justice League for
Okay,
those who
I was
aren't
just
following.
making sure I was on the right timeline here. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
yeah, but
go ahead.
what he's done to humanity as a whole, the world as a whole, isn't going to be able to look at him anymore as this uplifting superhero. They're going to be scared, and he's reaping what he sowed. Even if you have the perfect Superman by the end, he's done, and he dug his own grave
Why is he beyond redemption?
because nobody is going to trust a murderer as an all-powerful being.
He died a hero. They built a statue around him. A statue for him. What did it say? If you if you seek his influence, look around you, something like that. It was a really good saying. It was a damn good saying for a hero.
And didn't they graffiti it?
Someone did, yeah. They said false god, and
Yeah.
I think I forgot why he did that. Yeah, but remember that's in the area of the movie where people were expressing the mixed reactions. Like I said, mixed reactions for something like that would be real. That's exactly what you would have seen. Are your cats fighting?
Fuck yes.
Yes. Which one's losing?
Bane. They're all horny little bastards, so they like try to hump each other and then they get one mad and then the other one tries to hump each other and like
You're in that part of the South, huh?
they're so confused.
Okay, well, all right. So you're talking about because what you're talking about right there is, like I said, it's an area of the movie where mixed reactions were being expressed. So
Right.
this is still at a time where Earth doesn't even know they're all about to die again. They don't know there's a second threat on the way yet. They're still battling with the aftermath of the past. So that's why you're seeing this guy saying, saying false god, and you're seeing other people worship Superman as a real god.
Right.
Like
But
you even saw like it, and this is just something I can say to agree with you about how there's some rust areas in this movie, or there are just some rust areas in Zach's work. You might remember this. There's a scene where it's a flood. The house is flooded all the way up to its roof almost. There's just enough room to draw this big S on the roof, and it's a
oh
woman
yeah,
reaching out to Superman against the sun. I
yeah,
know in Zach's mind that was a hell of a shot, but for fuck's sake, get those people off the
yeah,
roof. So in that
yep,
much, yeah, I will side with you. That is frustrating. Yeah, I get that was a cool shot, but it was still a stupid thing to do, and that such is Zack Snyder.
yeah,
I,
yeah. And
again,
I agree. Like I don't have a huge. I'm not a fan of his work. Like obviously, it wasn't widely like I know they did some decent stuff with the box office and stuff, but they weren't happy with it, or he'd still be. If these things were doing so well, he'd still be making movies. They want nothing to do with this man anymore because that's not what they want to build. Because at the end of the day, you can't go back. You can't go back and trust this all powerful being that like ruined
well,
everything.
here's
That's
the
why
thing.
the foundation of Man of Steel is so important, and the fact that they got it wrong cemented that the
Mhm.
DCEU would never flourish the way that Marvel did.
Well, yeah, that's it. Warner Brothers doesn't get that. They didn't, they're not into this investment because they wanted to be second place to whatever Marvel's got going on at the time. And that's what they don't get. Marvel's work, generally, historically, I know about this much about comics. Marvel was always more visual. Marvel was always touching on really bizarre stuff, while comics in general were actually still kind of bizarre, but especially Marvel. Marvel always took it a little bit further until you got to
No, exactly opposite. Marvel was always the world outside your window. It was more grounded and more realistic. Whereas
wait,
DC has
X Men, Spider
gods.
Man, Fantastic Four, all their biggest work.
Yeah, but it was always more grounded.
Well, if that's the case, it unfolds better on screen. And that's also another because Marvel actually was not as good at storytelling compared to DC.
Oh,
If
I
you were
agree
expecting
there.
just things like Bruce Wayne, his struggle to be the hero for everybody that he thinks he needs to be, and just he can't have a personal life at the same time. It's killing him, and he doesn't stop. That's something like that compels you. Compare that to any Marvel movie, really. Honestly, I don't think any Marvel movie has had a good story. Not one. Iron
What?
Man was funny.
You
I don't
didn't
think
like the original Captain America?
I was okay. I'll
I
say
love
it
that.
was okay. Yeah,
The
I don't think it
problem
was.
the
But
problem with Marvel is they make great movies. Their comics have been lackluster, whereas DC has great comics and their movies absolutely are garbage. Like there's like a couple good DC shows like Doom Patrol and the Harley Quinn animated show. But if you're getting a property from DC, just expect low.
but that's because Warner Brothers does not respect that these characters are developed differently, and that's when you're making a movie about Wonder Woman, you're making a movie about Batman. You get to focus on them chiefly, and you get to spend more time with them. But if you invest in a project like X Men, you don't get to invest in Logan's story. You don't get to invest. You don't get a lot of time invested in, say, his jealousy that Jean isn't his. I don't think that was touched on in any of Marvel's movies, right?
Wait, you you serious? Like
I don't think so. If
in
if
X
there, I
Men
missed
3,
it.
he literally had to kill Jean, and they had that love triangle thing going with Cyclops.
Oh, but that was all the way out in the third movie. So finally, they threw it in there.
Yeah, like I think they dabbled in the I don't. It's been again. It's been years, but um.
But that's how all of the characters felt in Marvel's movies. Anything they had to say about any character, it was just kind of it was touched on. Like I said, they dabbled with it and they moved on to someone else. So you never got any time to personally invest in any character.
Oh,
You
I
don't have a lot of
disagree
time to relate to.
wholeheartedly.
Well, hold on, because you're like I said, you're a longtime reader, so you saw a little of what you like. You're filling in gaps mentally that aren't even touched on in the movie. But if you
That's
look at the
fair.
movie itself, right? But if you look at how the movie itself is actually made, how it's actually presented, If you,
Have
in
you
other words,
seen
if you
Civil
are not,
War? I mean, not Civil War. Winter Soldier, the movie Captain America, Winter Soldier,
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, yeah. I always get the end of it. I always get to the end of it.
Like
But
they
I
have
like it.
in Marvel has a villain problem, whereas they had some good villains. They had one great villain, Baron Zemo, and then they kind of reworked him to be maybe in the Thunderbolts, maybe not. I don't know. Like I don't follow it completely, but even like I would love to have a show like She-Hulk with the character, right? Like we don't get that. Like we've got Harley Quinn. It's fun. It's got a comic like that just
Yeah,
started that goes along with it, which is awesome because I love tie-ins like that. But we don't, as DC fans, we get garbage like we've been talking about. We don't get spoiled like Marvel fans. Like I don't know if you're following She-Hulk, but today's fucking
no,
episode, holy fuck balls!
no.
I
She-Hulk is the biggest blow to women's rights since Mrs. Pac-Man. That show
oh, you're so
stinks.
full. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I watched up to episode 6. 'Cause my mom was a big fan of crime dramas, so when she saw that about a third of the show takes place in court, she wanted to see it. So, but even she's done with it.
But it
Well, here's
doesn't.
what here's here's obviously I'm talking shit. That's actually a really good joke if you don't get that because Mrs. Pac-Man came in a time where the feminist movements were a bit more popular. Mrs. Pac-Man has a step back. That's actually funny. It's a Simpsons reference, by the way. But as far as She-Hulk, I lost interest at I think it was episode 3 where Abomination got parole after escaping
Oh
prison and then
yeah,
coming back,
it's
and
not
then using that as an argument to get parole. If the movie didn't, excuse me, if the series didn't take place in California, that wouldn't make sense because
like it's not a crime drama though. It's just more slice of life, and there's like uh,
no,
I don't
no,
want
no.
to spoil it for anyone in the chat that hasn't seen it, but today's episode was so fucking good. If you haven't seen the series, you're gonna want to watch it. Like the end of this episode made me want to die inside. Like
I didn't see. Like I said, I
that
lost
level
interest.
of humiliate. Oh fuck. Okay, sorry.
Wait, the humiliation? You're talking about Jen's date?
Oh, they. Okay,
That was the last one I saw.
earmuffs, guys. If you don't want to see it, okay. But
Everybody,
I'm
let's
gonna,
give them the count of 10. You shut your ears if you don't want to hear it.
yes, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my God, Daredevil and her hookup, and I love Daredevil. They're smitten for each other. Oh my God! And then at the end, she's accepting an award at the gala, and the guy that you used her before starts putting the video of them right before they start fucking on the screen for everybody to see. It is a level of humiliation that made me die inside. Like now Jen is my ride or die bitch.
And Daredevil's he's completely blind, right?
Hmm.
Okay, no, okay, so now they're just making sense of their relationship. Okay.
Ah! Wait, you don't think Tatiana Maslany is an attractive woman?
No.
Oh,
Oh wait,
so
no,
you
wait,
have bad
no,
taste. I mean, we knew that.
Titania, wait. Well, remember, I haven't been keeping up. Like I said, episode 6, it
I
was
get
playing
it.
in the background, but honestly, episode 5 is the one I just cut it. And I did get some good laughs out of the show, especially in the beginning. But just some of the things written into it, they were just too stupid. They were just too
I
stupid.
understand. It's not for everybody.
But like I said, that whole issue with Abomination, the fact that it takes place in California actually does make sense. It did make me start to wonder if the show is actually a subtle criticism of California. Because a little known fact that people can get parole here, even that people can get parole here for just about anything. They can
Yeah.
get parole very easily. Like
California is fucking wild.
there's a guy that beat his wife into intensive care with a shovel and he got parole. So that's why just for a second I thought maybe that's what they were getting at. But all said and done, I know the show's a comedy. I got a few good laughs out of it all, but I don't think it's for me. It really isn't.
That's fair. I think that's very fair.
But as back to your frustration with getting something that the fans really want. Well, look who's in charge. And
Jaslov?
everybody wants they want to milk these projects for they want to milk these projects for everything they got. Warner Brothers especially. That was everybody always says they don't know what they're doing. It's the truth. They really don't. Normally, you don't look at the guy with all that money that's getting all his returns to say you don't know what you're doing. But the truth is, yeah, they don't understand that you cannot make DC characters into Marvel movies, and that's what they want. That's why when Zack Snyder, because of tragedy in the family, he
Right.
stepped away, and they got this dipshit named Joss Whedon to take over, and then the Justice League movie. It was bound to have a mixed audience anyway, but
Right.
his cut was absolutely dismal.
At least
Like,
they changed the color palette from like that terrible muted tones. Like I'm not a fan of that real like dark aesthetic. It's just I want comics are a visual medium. They always pop. There's always an amazing colorist that you can point to on a book. Don't mute when it comes on screen. Like
not
give
bad.
that color back a little bit.
Well, Joss Whedon just sucks in general. Like, all
I
his
think
work,
everybody can agree on that.
he really well. No, you're gonna get some diehards here. Give it a minute.
Wait, he
Look,
has fans?
let's say Elon's lying. He has Joss Whedon bed sheets. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, I think after what people have heard about him, how he's treated people on set, if he has fans, I would be very surprised. Like at least
And here's something to add to that, because he was always one to say women are the real power of society. I never believed him. I've always thought guys like that say that just to they just say that for points. It's just empty virtue signaling. I don't think he ever really
right.
believed that. So then
No, I agree
then when the
completely. Look
accusations
at Joe Glass. Do you know who that is?
rings a bell.
He wrote a story called Pride. He's an openly gay man. He's a bit of an idiot. He doesn't like me. It's mutual. But he threatened to bomb a feminist convention and got the cops called on him in the UK. Like you don't sit here and virtue signal you're all about women and all about women, because that sends a red flag to most women.
Well, yeah, and it really should, because I put that together too. So even though Joss, I don't think any sound evidence has come forward. So fair enough if
Fair, yeah.
the evidence isn't conclusive, but I think suspicion is fair, and that was part of my conclusion, because I've always seen people with those empty virtue signals, and they turn out to be exactly what women don't like. As
Right.
far as this guy getting the cops called on the UK, I would weigh that very differently, because I learned this before I went to Tokyo. There's a law in the entire country. If for any reason a man makes a woman scream, he will be locked up for 30 days.
What?
Yeah. Japan has a very different criminal justice system. They put the burden of proof on the accused. They make you prove you didn't
What?
do it.
So it's basically guilty until proven innocent?
Yeah, we like it said, the U.S. Constitution is a wonderful thing. You don't realize it until you have to compare and contrast.
Oh no. I even with my criticisms of America, like with some of the idiot politicians, I'm not a fan of politicians at all. Or some of the, like the taking away Roe v. Wade. We also
Right.
have to realize, especially looking at the protests happening in where is it? Iran?
Iran,
Yeah.
yeah.
We have to realize that at some point we've got it pretty good. We have first world problems where we disagree about a movie.
Right, but we have other real problems. We really do. Like, this just came up a few days ago. It's a story you should follow. Forget the guy's name, but basically, The Onion is petitioning the Supreme Court right now, and I mean it. The parody
What?
news network, The Onion, yes, they're trying to petition the U.S. Supreme Court right now. Reason being, there was a guy who set up a parody Facebook account of his local police department. I think it's called Parma. Yeah, like the Parma Police Department. You look
What?
that up. He was arrested. and I think he was arrested. I forget if he was sentenced, but I know he was released. He tried to sue, and the judge sided with the prosecution under qualified immunity. Now, what happened is not constitutional.
Qualified
Parody,
immunity is an issue all in itself.
it really is. But yeah, that's there are a
That's
lot of
fucked
issues.
up.
Because here's the thing: bottom line, the Supreme Court decides what the Constitution means.
Right.
And if this case is something to follow, because this is going to be how we figure out what the Supreme Court here really stands for.
It stands
Because,
for anything conservative.
well, it also depends, because not all conservatives are the same, so it does depend on what they call conservative. Obviously, they have a strong preference for religion. No
Right.
argument for me.
And
But
that's fucked up that we're gonna let some literally what we were founded on go away. It's so messed up.
well, that's the thing. This story is something to follow. Give it time, because if it does actually make it to the Supreme Court, it would be interesting, because there are First Amendment and Fourth Amendment implications here, and
Ooh.
14th Amendment implications. And that's also scary, because conservative America today has very mixed thoughts of the 14th, and that's the
Yeah.
one that's actually the most important amendment. That's, like I said earlier, guys. The U.S. Constitution wasn't really written for the states. The Bill of Rights specifically was only written to keep the federal government from taking away speech, and religion and such. The 14th Amendment gave that to the states, or gave it
But
to the people no
states'
matter what.
rights. But states' rights.
Yes, and now the scary thing, because here's the thing, there's a scary thing, is there's just almost always a 14th Amendment implication.
Mhm.
So if the Supreme Court does take this case, it could be scary, because they could be further looking to hack away at what the 14th Amendment really means.
Yeah. And
It could happen.
further taking away rights that we naturally had. All right, guys, we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap up though. Thank you so much, Joseph. This was super fun.
I'm glad, though. I would happily like to do this again. But before you close off, I want one more question. Maybe you can answer quick.
Yes, absolutely.
So as I explained earlier, Superman and Goku are essentially the same character. Do you
Right.
know that? You know that much?
Sure. I
Okay.
believe you.
Well, that's the truth. That's the truth. The author took influence from Superman in the second series, Dragon Ball Z, and that's where Goku is an adult and basically equal to Superman in every way.
Right.
Right down to the drive for right and wrong. I mean, he really is that accurate, or that much alike. So initially, Goku was supposed to die and stay dead, and the author wanted his son to take over,
Mhm.
without actually understanding the struggles that make the hero. He wanted his son's name Gohan, wanted his son to take over and basically fill in the void for Goku, without understanding what exactly made him. Like, Dad was always there,
That's
but
them.
Gohan was not Goku. They were still different people, and
Right.
Gohan didn't want to be that. But now with Goku dead, Gohan has to be that guy. So that was initially what was supposed to happen. So with that in mind, here's my question for you: when now that we have John Kent Jr., we have
Mhm.
Superman's son here. So here's my question: is this the right story to tell? Should Clark die so that John Kent can learn for himself why his father sucks?
No, I think it would cause too much outrage. People would
Would
be
it
like,
really?
"It's SJWs."
If Clark dies?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It'd be like, "Gay
Oh,
Superman's taking over." Come on now.
oh yeah. No, I honestly didn't even think about that. But,
Yeah.
well, I think that actually would have been the right story to tell,
I think it would have been a good
because
story to tell. I agree, but
yeah,
I'm just saying there would have been outrage.
no, there was. Now I think I completely didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're probably right. No, it probably pissed him off. But
Yeah.
that, honestly, I think that would have been a great way to capture just what it's like when you have to take out after the hero and you don't even know who he is.
Yeah. It
I
would
thought that would
it
have
could
been a
be a
good
lot
story
of
to tell.
character work.
All right,
It
well,
could be
that's my
it could be
question.
good.
Well, I'm done
All right.
harassing you for the day.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to us, bitch. Like I said, first world problems are fun, though, right? All right, guys. We will see you in the next one. Thank you so much, Joseph.
Thank you for having me on. See you next time.